I hope you are doing well. I am making a video today to help you with the Aleks assignment over Chapter 9, Lessons 4, 5, and 6. And today I'm going to talk about numbers 7 through 10. And a lot of the information covered today is going to be based on those bookwork assignments where we talked about mean, median, mode, and range. And that is a lot of questions 1 through 6. 7 through 10 talks a lot about the 5-number summaries and the box and whisker plots. And those are the ones I'm really going to hit on in this video. If you have any other questions at any point, please feel free to email me, and I will get back to you as soon as possible and try to figure out where we could help each other out. So starting with question 7, it says the following are ages of 12 physics teachers in a school district. And notice that the ages are ordered from least to greatest. So they help us out here. They already order it from least to greatest. And they want us to give the 5-number summary and the interquartile range for the data set. Now, we haven't really talked a whole lot about interquartile range, but it's not too hard to find, and so I'm going to address it in this video. So the 5-number summary, there are 5 basic things we need to find. The easiest things to find are the minimum and the maximum. Remember, the minimum is the smallest number, and the maximum is just the highest. So in this case, the minimum, the smallest number, is just 24, so that's what I would put for my minimum. And my maximum is 53, my highest number, so I'll put 53 there. And now to find the median, remember you just cross off the numbers until you get to a middle number. And then if you don't get to a middle number, if you get to 2 numbers, you have to find the average of those 2. So we're going to do that now. We're going to cross them off, 24, 53, and we're just going to keep going until we get to a single number, hopefully. But if you notice, we get down to 2 numbers. So essentially what we want to do is we want to find the middle of 35 and 37. Now you might be able to say in your head, okay, what's in between 35 and 37? Well, it's 36, right? But you can mathematically figure that out by adding them and then dividing by 2, and you will get 36 here. So that's just a nice easy way to figure out that the median here is 36. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and erase this. And now we need to find the lower quartile and the upper quartile. To figure those out, we need our median here. So I'm going to draw a line here. Since our median was 36, we're going to put a line right where the median should be. Now, since our median isn't actually part of my data set, we don't use it, essentially. I mean, we're going to use it, but we're not going to consider it in our data. So we're going to find the lower quartile by looking at the lower half. And we're going to do the same thing we just did. We're going to cross off numbers until we get to a single point. But notice, once again, we get down to 2 numbers. So I add them together and divide by 2. And the middle of those 2 would be 31. So that would be my lower quartile. And now I'm going to do the same thing again, but with the upper side. So I'm going to cross off. But I get down to 2 numbers, but since the numbers are the same, when I do this addition here and divide by 2, it's just going to give me 42. So that is the upper quartile. Okay, so that is how you would find those 5-number summaries. To figure out the interquartile range, it's very simple. All you have to do is take the upper quartile and subtract the lower quartile, right? And we said that the upper quartile was 42 and the lower quartile was 31. So 42 minus 31, and then that gives us 11. That's our interquartile range. Okay, so I hope that makes sense in how you go about it. Like I said, it's very similar to that bookwork, those bookwork pages that I had you do. So now on question 8, all right, we have yesterday's high temperatures in Fahrenheit in 17 U.S. cities. And notice again that the temperatures are ordered from least to greatest, which is very helpful and handy. Now on your screen, you will have a box and whisker plot that you have to draw and make, and I'll show you how to do that here in a second, but I'm going to do all my work here first. Remember, to make the box and whisker plot, you need to use the 5-number summary, just like what you did in number 7, right? You'll need the minimum, you'll need the lower quartile, you'll need the median, the upper quartile, and then the maximum, right? You will need all of those numbers to help you draw your box and whisker plot. So your minimum is the smallest number, and since it's in least to greatest, it's pretty easy to find. So my minimum is 50, and my maximum here is 81. Okay, and now I need to find the median, so I'm going to go through, I'm going to cross off until I get to a middle number. And what's nice is I get down to a single number of 64. Okay, now since I've gotten down to a single number, right, and my number is actually part of my data set, I'm not going to use it when I start crossing off to find the lower quartile and the upper quartile. So I'm going to draw a line through this 64, signifying that's the middle. Okay, and now when I find the lower quartile, I'm going to cross off until I get to the middle again. And I get to 57 here. Actually, yeah, wait, I think I made a mistake. Yeah, it will end up being 57, but if you notice, you get down to two numbers, but since they're both 57, I add them, divide by 2, and I still get 57. So that's my lower quartile. For my upper quartile, I do the same thing. I cross off until I get to a middle number. Make sure you have to cross off evenly, but since I am left with 71 and 73, so I'm going to add those two and divide by 2, and that will give me 72 there. So that is my upper quartile. Okay, so now I have all these numbers, 50, 57, 64, 72, and 81, and I need to keep those in mind because I'm going to plot those on my box and whisker plot. Okay, so here I have all these numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and go to the Aleks part and show you how to make it. So my minimum was 50, so I'm going to take this point, I'm going to drag it all the way to 50. Oh, sorry, I'm on the wrong question here. So when I did this before, I accidentally reset it, and so okay, so I guess I can't show you on this. But what you'll do is you'll drag it into the numbers that you just found. So in this case, my 50, I'm going to put a point at 50. I'm going to have a point at 57, a point at 64, that's my median, 72, that's my upper quartile, and then 81, that's my maximum. And now I can have my box and whisker plot. Now you won't have to do this part, it'll already be drawn for you. But this is what it'll look like, right? It'll look very similar to this, okay? So you'll just drag and drop each of those points to where you found them with your data, okay? So question 9, the data set below has 7 values. Find the mean absolute deviation for the data set. If necessary, round your answer to the nearest hundredth. So remember, mean absolute deviation is simply how far apart are the numbers, right? On average, how far apart are each of these numbers? So what you have to do is you have to find the mean of your data set first, right? So you find that mean, so 16, you add them all together and divide by how many there are. So 16 plus 21 plus 17 plus 22 plus 17 plus 23 plus 17. And then I divide it by how many there are. So there are 7. And I get 19. All right. So my mean here is 19. So remember, what I have to do to figure out the mean absolute deviation is I have to subtract each of those numbers by 19 and then take the absolute value. So for example, I'm going to take the first number, 16 minus 19, and then take the absolute value. Right? 16 minus 19 is negative 3, so the absolute value makes it positive 3. And I'm going to keep going. 21 minus 19, right? That would be 2. 17 minus 19, that would also be 2. And I'm going to keep going. 22 minus 19, that would be 3. 17 minus 19, once again, that is 2. 23 minus 19, that would be 4. And then last but not least, 17 minus 19 once again, and then that gives us 2. Right? And then my last step here, once I have all of those differences, I'm going to take those numbers, add them together, and then divide by how many there are. There should be 7. There are. So I'm going to take all those points, add them together, and then divide by 7. And then it says round to the nearest hundredth if necessary. And in this case, I will have to, so I will get 2.57 for my answer. So that would be my mean absolute deviation. Okay? So that's how you would do that one. And that's very similar to those bookwork assignments. Okay? And last question is number 10. And I wasn't sure whether to include this one, but I thought I would go ahead and explain it just in case there are some people who are confused. So below are line plots for the 2 data sets, and it says find the mean of each data set. So just looking at it, it can be kind of confusing, but the X's just represent how many there are of those numbers. So for example, on the 5, right, that just says there are 2 5s. So if you want to write these out numerically, okay, there are 2 5s. And then I'm going to go to 6s. There are 2 6s, and then there are 2 7s. Right? That's all that means, is that's what the data set is. So when I find the mean, I just add up 5 plus 5 plus 6 plus 6 plus 7 plus 7, and then I divide by 6. And 36 divided by 6 is 6. Okay, so that's how you would do that. Those X's just represent, okay, how many, those X's represent how many of each of those numbers there are. Okay, so you have to do the same thing with data set B. There are 2 2s, so you'd write 2 and 2, then 3 3s, and then 3 4s, and then 2 5s, right? And then you could find the mean of that data set, okay? So remember, if you have any questions at any point, please don't hesitate to email me, okay? And I promise I will help you out as best as I can, and I will make sure we get you where you need to be, okay? So keep working hard and keep staying safe and healthy. You guys are doing a really wonderful job, and I just applaud you on your hard work, okay? So I hope you have a great day, and thanks for watching.